I had been looking for a job whilst I was traveling, but the thing is, like, you can't do physical interviews, and most of the jobs have physical interviews. So I kind of waited till I was in Tokyo. And then that next 2 weeks, when I'd moved into Tokyo, I just was looking for jobs constantly, like using all different sites. I ended up doing about 7, 8 interviews. So I did like 2 at Dotor, which is a cafe. I did 1 at a cafe called Excelsior, 1 at a Chinese restaurant called Bamiyan. I did 1 at Domino's Pizza for both for delivery. Honestly, I was willing to take anything at that point. What else did I do? I did a random online interview for like a translation job when I just wasn't qualified and I just applied online. And I think it was only Japanese people that were supposed to apply. So when I turned up on the Zoom call, the guy was like, "Oh, like I wasn't expecting you." And then we ended up having just like a chat for like half an hour to an hour. So it was basically like a free italki lesson, even though I didn't get the job. So yeah, that was good. What else happened? In the Dotor interview, there was an earthquake, and that was the first earthquake I'd ever experienced. So I was like shitting myself. The whole ground starts shaking. I'm like, what's going on? And she just sits there like no nothing's happening, like as if to say like this is a pussy ass earthquake. You don't you don't know what you're in for here. And then she asked me if I'm willing to like shave all my hair. No, no, like take my beard off and all sorts. And I was like, it's a bit long, but that's what you have to do in Japan. What else happened? Yeah, there was one Dotor interview that I just couldn't find where it was. Like I was looking forever, and Tokyo is just so hard to navigate. So then I turn up and I managed to find it. I turn up and then he's just got the most confused look on his face. He's like, who the hell are you? And then he's like, oh, just give me like 10 minutes. And I was like, well, you should be ready because it's an interview, right? And then he does this like makeshift interview with me. And then I'm like, that was a bit weird. And then the next day, I have another interview for Dotor. So I go into the center of Tokyo and I'm finding it on the map. And I go to it and I realized that it was the same Dotor. And I just turned up to a random Dotor the day before to do an interview when they weren't expecting me. So obviously I didn't get the job for that. I mean, the first interview I did at Excelsior was like absolutely terrible because like I turned up and I was like I didn't know where it was, so I was in a white shirt, like suit trousers and everything, and I'd legged it in like 35-degree heat just to get there in time. I was like sweating, like I was gushing sweat, and I get in there and I go straight to the toilet and try and like dry myself off. Doesn't work. I'm still wet and sweaty. I want to go home, but I'm like, I'm just gonna firm it. It's good experience. So then we sit down. I sit down with the guy, and he's looking at me like, "Why is this guy so wet? Why is he so sweaty?" He probably just thought I was stressed about the interview or something, but that goes terribly wrong because I'm thinking so much about my sweat that I also forget Japanese at the same time. So I don't think I stringed the one solid sentence together that whole interview. And I was like, if all my interviews go like this, I'm never gonna get a job here. Um, so all of this happens, and then I just get a random email, a random WhatsApp message from someone that was on YOLO Japan, which is like a job searching website. And he's basically, it's all in Japanese, and he's saying like, we've got a job here. It's this much salary, blah blah blah. It's here, and then he tells me where it is, and it's in like Saitama, so Kawagoe or around there. And I'm thinking that is ages away. So I look on the map, and I realize that it'd be like an hour's transport, and I just return a message to him straight away, just like, yeah, it's too far. And then he said, oh, I don't know about that. And he sends me through the map, and he's like, this is how you get here. And I think I start thinking about the actual job itself, and I think this is probably the perfect opportunity to like do what I wanted to do. Like it's all using Japanese, and it was a company called Leo Palace 21. So it's basically a look at this, by the way, so pretty. So pretty. Yeah, so it's at a company called Leo Palace 21, which is like a Japanese letting agents for like foreigners in Japan. So it's essentially English support, but then once you solve the problem with them, you convert it all into Japanese on the system. So write out in formal Japanese, converse in Japanese with like the people you're working with. So I just remember thinking like this is going to be a good chance to improve. I turn up for this interview, and the recruiter is basically this Japanese Brazilian guy that he basically says like, you've just got to you give a self introduction, and then it will go from there in terms of the interview. And I get in there and they take us into this room, and I'm telling you, like, up until this point, like I'd studied a lot of Japanese. Like I'd been studying Japanese pretty seriously for about 2.5 years, but this was like a full-on interview, and it was technical, and she was like briefing me on how the whole company works, and she was doing like a PowerPoint presentation, and my brain was just like trying to keep up, and I probably understood like 70% of what was going on, but even then I was just like winging it. They interviewed me, and then they interviewed me in English, and like I remember it switched to English, and I was like, right, so this is my chance. So I act like a complete and utter genius. I'm like, yes, well, just like I knew that I could kind of get them with that side of it, because like they had no native English speakers in the company. But yeah, honestly, like start the job, and it's pretty intense. Like it's one of those jobs where if you're a native, or you're native in both of the languages, then it's probably not that difficult. But if you're not native level in one of them, like it's quite challenging, because all of the material on the company and all the FAQs and stuff was mainly in Japanese. So you'd have to be able to understand like a lot of technical words. And it's a letting agency. So it's about accommodation and pretty much everything that's involved with life or living, I guess. So you have to know the name, honestly. And they gave me a handbook. I don't know whether they give this to their Japanese employees, but they gave me a handbook of the names of everything in one of their properties. So it was like a labeled diagram of like a kitchen, and saying like Jaguchi, this is a faucet or whatever. But yeah, that was interesting. But I loved it, because especially for that first month, I was just learning like tens to hundreds of words a day, and I hadn't felt like I'd learned that many words in Japanese since the start, because like you kind of, unless you force yourself to like immerse in certain content, you really hit a stagnation point in terms of like new words learned. But anyway, I'm not talking about languages today. You can check my other videos for that. So yeah, that's how I got a job in Japan, I guess.